But I want to take my video off again. How do you? Mark, you see the slides right?
Yep, looks great. Thanks, Sheila. Well, I guess it's time to start. So I thank you all for coming. And my name is Mark Carter. I am a NIFA employee. I'm the director of the Division of Food Safety, and I'm also acting director of the Division of Nutrition. And today I have the pleasure of introducing a bunch of staff from NIFA, including some from my divisions, who will be presenting some overview information on our AFRI programs within our particular health program area. So next slide, please, Sheila. Here's the series of webinars that we're going to be doing. This is the first of a series. So there's another one. Actually, this is not the first one, right? The first one was a little bit earlier. This is the first one that's focused on the program areas. And you can see that there are other program areas that will be featured later on in the week. Today, I am assisted by, again, a bunch of the staff. Sheila Fleischhacker is the National Science Liaison who is operating the slides for me, and Sheila did a great job of coordinating and putting together this show today. I'll also have Stephanie Moore serving as timekeeper for the presentations to make sure they don't go over their allotted 5 minutes. And then Courtney Simmons is going to be answering your questions live as you type them in. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A, and there's a good chance Courtney will have the answer. And if she doesn't, we'll take a gander at them at the end of the presentations. Next slide, please. So these are the areas that are generally headed up by our program area, by the staff of the Food Safety and Nutrition divisions. And these are the ones we'll be going through today. So the first three will be addressed by National Program Leader Hong-Da Chen, and then we'll have two that will be addressed by scientists outside of our divisions. We have some staffing flexibility, and we're delighted to be able to have some intra-agency cooperation. And then the last couple on this list will be, again, presented by staff from our divisions. Next slide, Sheila. And then after that, we're going to go into some cross-cutting programs. So at NIFA, we have some programs that don't really neatly fit into one division or program area or the other, and they nicely lie across two or three, and that allows us to cooperate and collaborate. And so we'll be presenting information on these three program areas, and those will be, again, done by folks outside of my divisions, but we will introduce them as they come up. And the next slide. Actually, the next slide is coming up right now. So this one is for National Program Leader Hong-Da Chen. And Hong-Da, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Mark, and welcome. This first program I want to introduce you is called Food Safety and Defense, program area code A1332. The budget ceiling for this program is $650,000 total per project for a project period from 3 to 5 years. This program solicited only research projects, and the grant types include a whole bunch of lists on the slides: standard, conference, and so forth phase grants. And I want to call your attention to the three that I highlighted, I bolded: standard, strengthening standard, and new investigate. These three types of grants were subject to the budget ceiling that I mentioned previously, while others, conference, strengthening conference, seed, equipment, sabbatical, have a different requirement and a budget ceiling. For instance, a conference grant should not exceed $50,000. A C grant is subject to limit of $300,000. So just look up those details in an RFA. The program deadline, the application deadline for this one is May 27 and at 5 p.m. We list the 5 p.m. here is that the AFRI has a very stringent deadline requirements. And if you violate it by a minute, and it will not be accepted. So the advice is that try to do that proactively, submit a couple of days ahead of time to avoid any unexpected problems. Next slide, please. So this slide shows you the program priority and emphasis. The program priority supports the researcher project from basic to applied project that will reduce the risk of intentional or unintentional contamination of foods for the food safety and the defense. For emphasized areas, develop microbiological methods for enumerating enteric pathogens, including Salmonella, Campylobacter, stacks, in large representative food samples designed to represent a food production lot. The next one is develop microbiological procedures designed to alleviate the needs for enrichment in the detection of a very small number of pathogens in larger food samples collected to represent the food production lots. I want to call your attention to these two because that we have received a larger number of applications focused on the sensor and the detection without considering food metrics as an important part of a detection sensor design. So we want to emphasize the relevance, the importance of the sample and the representation here. So please pay attention to that change from previous years RFA. Third area is to develop and validate advanced innovative technologies or processes for food processing, manufacturing, packaging, cleaning, and sanitation to effectively reduce the presence of survived enteric pathogens, including the low moisture foods and processing facility. The last one is to develop and validate novel strategies for the effective control of persistent reservoirs of foodborne pathogens. I want to report that this is not on your slide. The program awarded statistically from last 2 years. And each year, we receive on the left and right about 100 applications. The program was able to support, to fund about 20 projects each year. So the successful rate is about 20%. And total award for that program is $8 million. And each year we receive 9 new investigator applications, and we were able to fund 4 of those. So you can see the successful rate is more than 40% for new investigators. Next slide, please. The second program I want to introduce is a novel foods and innovative manufacturing technology program called A1364. Same budget ceiling as the previous one, same for the research only project, same pack of grant types. The due date is different. This one due date is June 10th, also at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Next slide, please. So this program will support the research that develop a risk-based approach to ensure the quality, safety, nutrition of novel foods and novel food ingredients, to include including products from a process. This program also supports to research food manufacturing competitiveness to ensure a more sustainable, resilient, and healthy food supply. For emphasized areas, improving knowledge and understanding of chemical, physical, biological property of novel foods and food ingredients, improving the safety, quality, shelf life, convenience, and nutritional profile of essential attributes of novel foods and food ingredient. Develop innovative manufacturing technologies that increase productivity, improving food quality and or nutritional value of foods and food ingredients that are more energy, water, resource efficient. Finally, advance science and develop technologies to improving shelf life and minimize food waste and loss throughout the food supply chain, including consumer empowering tools. The program statistics, last 2 years, we received about 80 to 100 proposals. And each year we found 16 to 17 projects of a total about $7 million. So the successful rate is between 17 to 20%. And each year, well, the 2020, we were able to find 2 new investigate awards among the 3 new investigate applications. And then fiscal 19, it looks in the surveys, we didn't give any new investigate award, but actually there are awards given young faculty who was successful in the previous couple of years as new investigators. So these are still junior faculties. Next slide, please. Well, before you get tired of me, this is the last program I'm going to introduce you this afternoon. This is a nanotechnology for agriculture and food system. Program code 1511, same budget seeding for the research only, same pack of types of grants. The application deadline is May 27, same as the food safety and defense. Dr. Jim Dabrowski is my program director for this one. Next one, please. The program priority for it is to advance nanoscale science, engineering, and technology to address societal challenges facing agriculture and the food system. I want to emphasize this is a Boolean operator and here. So the point is that we look at the proposal were at the intersection of nanoscale science and nanotechnology and the relevance to the societal challenge for agriculture and food. So you must to have both in the end. The point is quite clear. If you're just looking for the nanoscience project, Federal Agency National Nanotechnology Initiative through about a dozen federal agencies have a program offering of close to $2 billion annually. So there are ample opportunities there. And in our program, asks you not only advance the nanoscale science, but focus on the relevance to the agriculture and the food. So that's the requirement. Among those 6 bullet points listed here, shows that the program emphasis area. Probably for this audience, I will guess the first 3 and then perhaps the last one will be of more interest to you. The first one is a novel use and high value added product using nanobiomaterials from the agricultural forest orange for food and non-food application. Read IFA, please note that there is a note put there. There is a little exclusion there. The note is that the application primarily addresses packaging for the contact service of food safety, agrochemical and environmental health, and other aspects of agriculture and food production will be accepted. While the application addresses how engineered nanomaterials affect the nutrition or quality attributes of food are not solicited in this particular program. There are other programs that you may find interesting. Please stay tuned, you may hear that. And then this program is a bit of oversubscribed, so the exclusion is necessary here. The second one is look at environmental health, the safety of engineered nanoparticles in food in the agricultural production system. Third one is nano-enabled smart sensor for accurate, reliable, cost-effective, early and rapid detection of targets of interest in the agricultural production and then food safety. The fourth one is about the sensor network for the precision agriculture, the agriculture chemical inputs. And the fifth one is monitoring physiological biomarkers important for the optimal crop, animal productivity and health. Last one is a focus of fundamental study at the discovery characterization of nanoscale phenomenal processing and structure relevant and important to the agriculture and food. Again, statistics, last 2 years we received about 80 applications and we were able to find 12 or 13 awards. Success rate is at 15 to 16%. And each year, we were able to fund two new investor awards, relatively high successful rate. So now, next up is Kathy.
Thank you, Hongda. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kathy Bjork, and I am a national program leader in animal health with NIFA. I'm going to switch my camera over here. With NIFA, I am with the Institute for Food Production and Sustainability. I have been with NIFA just a few months. My colleague in this program is Dr. Steve Smith. As you see there, and between the two of us, we will be happy to answer any questions. The program area priority code for the AMR program is A1366. The proposed budget requests are up to $1 million total per project for project periods up to 5 years. The project types that are supported are integrated projects only. And you'll recall that integrated projects are those that have a research component as well as an education or extension component. So do look at the RFA very closely to make sure that you're meeting the guidelines for an integrated project. The types of grants are standard, conference, and phase grants, and those include the strengthening standard, new investigator, strengthening conference, seed grants, equipment grants, and sabbatical grants. And recall that phase is the Food and Agricultural Science Enhancement Program. The application deadline is 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, June 10th of 2021. And again, the contact information for Dr. Steve Smith and myself are here. Next slide, please. The program area priorities are listed here. These are the higher level language. I would recommend that you look closely at the priorities listed in the RFA for the details for each of these, because they do have important information in there. The first one is to assess the risk to human health at critical control points along the food chain. Second, to assess factors such as fitness and virulence associated with foodborne antimicrobial resistant pathogens. To identify risks associated with antimicrobial use in food animals or crops. To assess antimicrobial resistance challenges for small scale or disadvantaged producers. And to determine best management and trusted resources for communicating guidance. And again, these are the shorter paraphrases for the very more detailed priorities, and I recommend you look at those closely. If you're interested in identifying international collaborators, do see the Joint Programming Initiative on Antimicrobial Resistance website. And applications that address vaccine development should be submitted to the other AFRI program on animal diseases, that is diseases of agricultural animals, area priority A1221. Some of the statistics on our applications, our proposals and success rate are that we see approximately mid-30s to high 40s over the past years in the number of proposals that we have received. And the most recent review panels, we had about a 15% success rate. Okay, next I'll turn it over to Victoria.
Thank you, Kathy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being with us here today. The NPL for Foundational Knowledge of Plant Products is Vance Owens. I'm his co-lead. A1103 has a top budget request of $650,000, and we are accepting research projects only. The deadline for submitting your proposal is May 20th of this year. Projects must focus on the agriculturally important plants, including native and minor crop plant species and weeds. Molecular, biochemical, whole plant, agronomic or eco-physiological approaches may be used to determine the genetic basis of such traits identified through these studies. The intent of this program is for results to be translated into development of varieties that help create or meet emerging and future markets and contribute towards long-term demand for new agriculturally based industrial and food products. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I'm on slide 2 right there. A1103 requests projects that study the plant-derived molecules for food, agriculture, and pharmaceuticals. For example, determining the plant systems that produce metabolites to improve quality of food and feed, plant-based chemicals that can be used in industrial applications, and nutraceuticals that improve human health and nutrition. Next up is Dr. Johns. Lisa?
Hello, I am Lisa Jans. My contact information is at the bottom of the slide here, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Courtney Simmons, who's the team lead for this priority area. The proposed budget requests you've seen before, not to exceed $650,000 for periods of 3 to 5 years, up to $800,000 with appropriate collaborations. These are research projects only. And again, they're the standard conference and phase grants, which I believe you heard about earlier. The application deadline for this year is June 10th, 2021, and next year will be September 1st, 2022. In 2020, we had 79 proposals submitted, of which 27 were phase. This overall success rate was 15%, and you can find this program area priority on page 35 of the AFRI Foundational and Applied RFA. There is no LOI required except for conference grants, so see the RFA for details. Next slide, please. Now, the program area priority for food and human health is to investigate the nutrients and contaminants in food and their impact on the gut microbiota. So proposals are sought which can enhance the nutritional value of foods through improved bioavailability and absorption of vitamins, minerals, and bioactive components in foods, including nanoscale delivery. To investigate the multi-directional impact of food composition and structure on human gut health. For example, nutrient absorption rates, secondary metabolites, pathogen interaction, physiological indications, sensory signaling, etc. Anything that has to do with the gut, to assess the safety, quality, and nutritional value of foods, and or investigate the role of food components or contaminants on human gut microbiome and its metabolites, and the subsequent impact on human health. So animals studies are welcome, but a link must be shown between agriculture and human gut health. Justification must be provided for the relationship of the bioactive components being studied to human health outcomes and or the health of the human gut microbiome. Priority will be given to applications that use a whole food approach or that address health effects of a combination of 2 or more bioactive components found in food. The whole food approach may also be one that adds enrichment, fortification, or micro and nano encapsulation to enhance bioavailability of the bioactive components in foods. This program area priority does not support research on the development of dietary supplements, research on dietary therapies for existing disease, or for the establishment, expansion, or maintenance of dietary databases. And next up is Dr. Mallory Canings.
Thank you very much. I am the National Program Leader for the Diet, Nutrition, and Prevention of Chronic Diseases Program Area Priority. As you can see here, that is code A1344. This is another integrated program, meaning that proposals need to address at least 2 out of the 3 functions of agriculture, being research, education, and extension outreach. The proposals that are invited in this program area can have a total budget up to $1 million and a performance period of 3 to 5 years. This program area accepts standard grants and food and agricultural science enhancements, also called strengthening grants, through the application deadline you'll see here, May 27th this year. And we also invite conference grants through the typical AFRI letter of intent process. My email address is shown on this slide, and email is the best way to get in touch with me. Next slide, please. I do want to share with all of you that this is a highly competitive program area. We typically fund about 10 to 12% of the proposals received. Also, as I've stated, but I'll reiterate because it is really central to this program area, proposals need to have a clear design and a clear understanding in the project and the project team assembled of integrated work, of making sure that the benefits of research, education, and extension, mutually are reinforcing, and that shines through in the proposed projects. All proposed projects need to clearly address an understanding of food access, of food behaviors and food choices as well. The funding priorities, the 3 of them are shown here. And I do want to take this opportunity to highlight that the focus is on improving eating patterns to prevent chronic disease, on improving and sustaining health through food and nutrition research and interventions, and of course, improving the food security and nutrition health outcomes in low-income populations. So really focusing on the key consumer choices and consumer behaviors that can prevent chronic diseases. And with that, I welcome any questions when we get to the question and answer period, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you my colleague, Dr. Ann Litchins-Park, to describe the next program area priority.
Thank you, Mallory. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ann Litchins-Park, and I'm the National Program Leader responsible for this cross-cutting program, Agricultural Microbiomes in Plant Systems and Natural Resources. The program area priority code for this program is A1402, and proposed budgets submitted to this program cannot exceed $850,000 total per project. This program supports research projects only, and the types of grants can be standard, conference, or phase. The application deadline for this program is July 15th, 2021. And you can see my email address on this slide, and that is the best way to reach me as well, to send me an email. Before we move on to the next slide, I want to tell you just generally that this program supports research leading to better understanding of microbial communities associated with plants. And the knowledge gained from this program is expected to ultimately reduce use of chemicals in food production, lead to development of safer alternatives to the management of agriculturally important pests and diseases, optimize nutrient utilization efficiency, and reduce the environmental footprints of agriculture and food systems. And it's important to note that this program is not appropriate for research on microbiomes associated with animal systems, or for research on studies between the interactions between single microbial species and plants. We have other programs that support that sort of research. So if we can move to the next slide. So in general, the funding priorities for this program aim to better understand the multipartite interactions between the plant host, the environment, and the microbiome. because that's critical for improving the sustainability of agricultural productivity and quality in plant systems, associated natural resources, human nutrition, and health. There are 3 program area priorities associated with this particular program. The first is characterizing molecular mechanisms and signal exchange involved in microbiome assembly and interactions in various environments or physiological states, such as stress, diseases, or growth stages. Another priority is to functionally characterize microbiomes and microbiome metabolites in conferring specific host phenotypes, such as disease resistance or drought tolerance, optimization of environmental processes, such as water uptake, nutrient cycling, or carbon sequestration, and/or host microbiome interactions, such as host influences on microbiome composition. And finally, the third priority is defining genomic elements that shape functional diversity, virulence, and resistance to sanitation and/or antimicrobial treatment of foodborne pathogens associated with plant foods. So you will note that there is an emphasis, a strong emphasis on characterizing microbiome function in these priorities. So that's very important. You can submit proposals that address one of these priorities or more than one of these priorities. And in the last year, we had 43 applications to this program, and we had a funding rate of 18%. Now that concludes my comments, and the next National Program Leader to speak is another Ann, Dr. Ann Stapleton.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to talk about a cross-cutting program now named Data Science for Food and Agricultural Systems. Program area priority code is A1541. The former name of this program was FACT, so it's now called DSFAS. Proposed budget requests, as previously noted for these programs, is $650,000 for projects with the additional coordination projects up to $1 million. You can submit either research projects or integrated projects to this priority area. And the grant types are standard, conference, and phase. So the requested grant types for coordination networks with a larger funding and the different requirements for collaboration in the coordination network aspects of this program are standard and phase only. The application deadline is July 29th, 2021 at 5 o'clock. So my contact information is listed below. I have a team of NPLs who work with me on this project. So we share a group email, NIFA DSFAS, and we, the appropriate person in the different research areas will reply to you. Next slide, please. Let me talk a little bit about the funding priorities for DSFAS. So here the goal is to fund data science that enables systems and communities to improve research management and integrate new technologies. And I think this is the question I get most often, so I wanted to emphasize it on this slide, that the most competitive proposals in this program are equally well-grounded in agricultural science and data science, broadly constructed. There are some specialty areas, if you look at the RFA, in particular areas of data science and AI. You want to make sure, however, that you are addressing the importance of advances in both these fields in your proposal. The applications for research and integrated research projects must include the priorities. Again, there are additional details about these priorities in the RFA, and I encourage you to look at those carefully. The general areas are analysis of agricultural data, connecting multi-scale, multi-domain, and multi-format agricultural data, and agricultural applications and human technology data interactions. So specifics of the kinds of priorities that we fund are in the RFA, and I strongly encourage you to look at the details there. So there are emphasis projects that apply artificial intelligence and machine learning, and there are specifics for those are in the RFA. All right. Next up is Jim.
Hi, folks. Jim Dobrovolsky here, National Program Leader for Water and Natural Resources, and welcome to NIFA this afternoon. I'm going to talk a bit about another cross-cutting program area called Critical Agriculture Research and Extension. It's an easy one to remember. It's called CARE. The program area priority code is A1701. The proposed budget request is $300,000 total per project for project periods of 1 to 3 years. And we only allow integrated projects only. So research and focused on extension. The grant types are standard and phase, and of the phase, strengthening standard and new investigator are the only ones that we allow. The application deadline is June 17th, 2021 at 5 p.m. And I have 2 other MPL colleagues that are working with me this year, Dr. Vijay Nandula and Dr. Andre Sibbles. So both of those will be available to chat with you if you have questions. Next slide. Thank you very much. Funding priorities for CARE. Well, we're looking for critical challenges and opportunities that research and extension together can address to improve our nation's agricultural and food systems. So keep that in mind. We're looking for research that is pretty close to the end of being developed and ready to be translated and delivered to either producers or laboratories or whoever the stakeholder group is. The project should include integrated activities based on rigorous research combined with effective extension, the involvement of stakeholders. So we want to see some potential co-production with stakeholders to develop and rapidly apply new knowledge or practices. And we want to contribute, we want these works to contribute to improved well-being of the people, those communities of people, the plants and animals involved in and affected by agriculture and food production systems. So there's more detail in the RFAs, and I always recommend over the many years that I've been with NIFA that you read the RFA carefully. So see the AFRI Foundational Applied Science RFA. That's where CARE is. It's toward the end of the RFA. And now I get to turn it back over to Mark, I believe.
Thanks, Jim. And thank you, Sheila, for advancing the slide already. One of the first slides we looked at today in our show here was a listing of the schedule, and it had some of the other AFRI programs highlighted and the times that they would be presenting. Here, I'm just relisting some of the ones that are kind of more closely related to food safety and nutrition, where you might find additional opportunities that are sort of related to this. And so you can tune into the other shows later this week. And as Jim pointed out, definitely read the RFA, go back and look through it, and they're all listed in there. So I'm not going to read off this list for you, but you can see that with a little imagination, any one of these areas could relate possibly to food safety and nutrition. Next slide, please, Sheila. So today we talked about the AFRI programs that are from the food safety, nutrition, and health. In addition to AFRI, NIFA has a lot of other grant programs, a lot of other instruments for funding, including some of these that are listed. So all of these on this list are relevant to food safety and nutrition and human health, and they're all administered by the Division of Food Safety and the Division of Nutrition. Some of these are quite large, or you may have heard of some of them. And they're completely different in the way that they're administered and the sort of projects that they fund. But if you're interested in food safety and nutrition and human health, you might want to take a look at these two, because there's quite a bit of money available in them. And some of them are the capacity grants that are formula funded too. Let's take a look at the next slide. We're getting close to the end of the show here. So again, as we pointed out, you need to definitely take a look at those RFAs, but then in addition, the FAQs, the frequently asked questions, help to kind of refine and understand some of the parts of the RFAs that can be kind of complicated, and there's details. So do take a look at the FAQs too. A lot of times you'll be able to answer your own questions if you just read the details in the RFAs and look at the FAQs. You know, you can use your search and find function and look for the things that you really have your questions on, and figure out the answers on yourself, on your own. Last slide, please, Sheila. Right, so if you have questions, first take a look at the RFA and see if you can find the answer. Look at the FAQs, and if you can't, feel free to contact us. This is why we're here, the program staff. So for each of these programs, we listed the NPLs with their email addresses, and you got a chance to sort of meet them virtually. And I assure you that they are eager to help you figure out the answers to your questions. They're eager to support you. And so, as a matter of fact, at this time in our program, we are going to give you an opportunity to ask questions. There's been quite a few questions that have been typed in as we were going along. And now's your chance to type in some more if you want. And I will have Brianna read the questions. And it looks like Olivia is answering them like crazy. But if we have any questions that aren't answered online, then we'll be able to send those to the NPLs, because those people are right here online and they can answer the questions live. So you see the little Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. You click on that and type in your question, and somebody will surely answer it. Brianna, are you there to read them?
I'm here.
You have to read it fast before Olivia answers it.
No problem. So the ones that have already been answered, do we want to read those aloud as well?
I think that's the plan, actually. We do have some time for that. And Mark and Olivia, you can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I believe we were supposed to be reading the questions that were already answered.
Okay, no problem. So there was a question: if I am awarded an AFRI standard grant, do I also retain ESI status in the eyes of NIH? The response to that is you will need to check with NIH for that answer. Do seed grants need to be integrated? This is mitigating AMR. The answer is yes.
No. The seed grants, among the award, if you read the details about, let me turn my camera on. If you read the details about that particular grant type, standard grant applications do have to be integrated. The seed grants are accepted from that requirement. They can be research only or single function.
Thank you for clarifying that, Stephen.
You're welcome.
Another question is, there is food manufacturing priority in both food safety and defense, novel foods, and innovative manufacturing technologies programs. Do you have any additional guidance in selecting the right program for innovative food manufacturing research topic? And Honda, I believe that you wanted to address this one live to the audience.
Sure. This is a very good question. And there are differences between those two. The one that in the food safety and defense focus on the food processing technologies, packaging, sanitations, that can enhance food safety. So the emphasis is very specific in that direction. In the novel foods and innovative manufacturing, the scope is much more broad, and it is look at the next generation of advanced manufacturing. So in addition to the food processing technology, packaging, and sanitation, you could also look at the automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, integration of sensor technologies into it. So the scope is broad. And also in the novel food and innovative manufacturing program, you look at the food as its entirety, and in terms of its quality improvement, its sensory, its nutrition, and if a safety is integrated into that, and that will be accommodated. As opposed in a food safety program, the focal point is improving the safety of the food with the technology. So hope that answers your question. And if it's still doubt, give me a call and we can discuss offline with your specific proposed idea. Thank you.
Thank you for providing that guidance, Hongda. How about the partnerships program with small/medium colleges and universities? For that specific program area priorities, such as safety and defense, novel foods, and innovative manufacturing technologies, they have a special opportunity for an income budget in order to accommodate certain kinds of partnerships. Trying to get to the bottom of this response. AFRI's definition of small mid-sized is a total enrollment of less than 17,500. A minority serving institution means an accredited academic institution whose enrollment of a single minority or a combination of minorities exceeds 50% of the total enrollment, including graduate and undergraduate and full and part-time students. And for more information on that, you can go to the EPSCoR list website. Another question, the new investigator limitation of 5 years could be extended to 6 years based on the COVID-19 situation. The answer is the 5-year limit is set by congressional legislation, and there has been no legislative change to this limit for COVID-19. A question was posed, I belong to a state agriculture experiment station within the University of Arkansas system. The experiment station does not confer degrees. However, we are co-located with the University of Arkansas Fayetteville, which confers degrees. Our department faculty have appointments in both state agriculture experiment station majority and University of Arkansas Fayetteville minority. If we submit the grant from the agriculture experiment station, are we eligible for integrated grants? And the response was, if you submit through the university, you should be fine. Talk with your university's Office of Sponsored Programs or the grant office to see if they have advice about this. There was another question to ask if this will be recorded. And I believe there is a link provided for you all to see this recording. It will be slightly delayed for processing and for correcting captions. If I am not 100% sure which program I should submit my proposal to, could I contact the program director for suggestions? And the response was, you should read through the program area priority descriptions in Part 1C of the AFRI Foundational and Applied Science RFA. After you look through those descriptions, contact the listed person or persons for that program area priority with your fit to program questions, and have a short description of your potential project in the email. What is the success rate for DSFAS? How many proposals were submitted in this last cycle? Ann Stapleton, did you get to this question during your presentation?
No, I did not. It's approximately 20% over the years of the predecessor program, FACT. DSFAS as a program is new in this fiscal year.
Thank you for that. Is the project area improving food quality code A1361 discontinued or merged into another project area like novel foods and innovative manufacturing technologies, which is A1364, excuse me. The response was improving food quality program has ended. Please check to see if your idea will fit A1364, or you can discuss with the program director offline. Having two proposals as PI submitted to the same program, totally different topics. Do you have any comments on this? While it is not prohibited to do so either in a specific program priority area or for specific AFRI RFAs as a whole, AFRI programs discourage the same individual from submitting more than one application as lead or first project director. Because of the competitive nature of the AFRI programs, it is often best to select one project and put the time into writing the strongest application that you can. However, there is similarly no prohibition against more than one grant being given to a single project director, but some program area priorities do have a limit on the number of grants an institution may receive. For co-PDs and collaborators, there is also no prohibition on being on more than one project. All co-PDs and PDs need to remember to include all of the pending applications in their current and pending form to confirm that they would have enough time to work on all of them as it is listed, work on all of them if all the listed applicants receive awards. And we have a question, could you share the success rate of foundational knowledge of plant production? I believe someone is in the process, or has someone already gotten around to answering that one? The success rate of foundational knowledge of plant production, or plant products, excuse me.
It's about 10%, give or take.
Thank you. Another question we have, can you provide an example of what to include in integrated grants, research and education? And there was a link provided, and this is the attachment for the AFRI project types. There's a section about all integrated projects. Just remember to adhere to the information in the program area priority description in part 1C, which might specify what functions are required for integrated projects for that specific program priority. What is the success rate for food and human health? It's approximately 15%, or it was approximately 15% in 2020. Is there any criteria for defining novel foods or novel food processing in the priority area A1364? Novel foods considered for this priority area are those foods or food ingredients that can be newly developed, produced, or preserved using new technologies or processes. And you can find this on page 33 of the RFA. Another question is there any preference on types of food, e.g. dairy, plant, or animal in the priority for 1364? And I'm not sure if anyone's gotten around to answering that one just yet.
Hamida, can you share the answer with the audience?
Right, yeah. No, there's no preference. That's a quick answer. Talk to me if you need any specific discussion.
Thank you, Hongda. Another question we have for the program, Mitigating Antimicrobial Resistance Across the Food Chain, which is A1366, can only research plus teaching be eligible for the integrated projects, or does it have to include research plus teaching plus extension? And the answer is for this program, integrated equals research plus extension, or research plus education, or research plus extension plus education. A question was, the success rate for food and human health is approximately 15%. How about for new investigators?
Lisa?
I do not have that information, so please email me.
This is Mallory Koenings. I can provide some guidance here. So new investigator applications for standard grants or for seed grants, they're paneled with their counterparts that are not new investigators. So the success rate overall applies to new investigators as well.
And
Thank you, Mallory.
Miranda, I can answer the question, not for specific program area priorities, but for the food safety, nutrition, and health program area across all 5 of those program area priorities. Success rates for new investigators this past year equaled or slightly surpassed that for standard grants from senior colleagues.
Thank you, Mallory. Thank you, Mark. Another question is, I am planning for research related to nanocarrier systems with biopesticide delivery for study of uptake and translocation in plants to constraints pathogens. Can we submit this proposal under nanotechnology for agriculture and food system area? The answer is yes. Another question is, this relates to food and human health. May I know which chronic disease would be the priority, like obesity or CVD? The answer is, it is not chronic disease. For A1343 is focused on bioactives in the microbiome. 1344 addresses prevention of chronic diseases.
And I'll further clarify that there is not a specific limitation for only 1 or 2 chronic diseases. We support the breadth and invite the breadth of proposals that would prevent diet-related chronic diseases.
Thank you, Mallory. When I go to the listing of USDA list of RFAs, I do not see 1344, diet, nutrition, and prevention of chronic diseases. Is it not listed yet? And this response is, it is within the AFRI Foundational and Applied Science RFA. If you go to nifa.usda.gov/AFRI and click on the link for AFRI requests for applications, then you will be able to find it. Another question we have, in terms of the resubmitted proposals, will it have a higher funding rate? Do you have any suggestions to revise the proposal? And the response was, for submissions, you should read the feedback you received from the previous peer review process of your application and address the issues in your resubmission application. Resubmissions are allowed 1 additional page in the, lost track of where I was. Resubmissions are allowed 1 additional page in the page narrative for response to previous reviews. Trying to find, there was a question I moved around. Projects involving food safety and machine learning should be sent to each priority program. The response was, please carefully compare your research question and plan to the RFA for possible programs. To be competitive for DSFAS, the proposal must be strong in both data research / AI research and agricultural research. What is your advice on the co-PDs for new investigator projects? The answer is, you're allowed to have co-PDs on your project. And I believe the current question, or we have some few questions popping up. What about international PDs? How the programs see the involvement of international institutes? Any advice? If anyone wants to hop in or chime in and answer that one.
Okay, I'll answer that one. All of our AFRI RFAs have information that invites or encourages co-project directors, actually collaborators, on international collaborators, and they can receive subcontracts. Technically speaking, an international partner cannot be a co-project director because they cannot take over the grant. So if they can't take over the grant, they cannot be a co-project director, but they can be a collaborator and they can receive a subaward on the grant proposal. And that information, if you search the RFA for the word international, you'll get some more information on that.
Thank you for that explanation, Mark. Another question is the expectation that seed grants include results from pilot studies? If anyone wants to chime in on this one. Oh, okay, we got an answer. The answer is, let me read the question again. Is there an expectation that seed grants include results from pilot studies? The answer is seed grants are designed to allow the PD and team to collect preliminary data, so preliminary data is not required for those applications. If you have any preliminary data to support the seed grant application, though, you may include it in your seed grant application. And Mark, so far, those are all the questions that have been answered or unanswered.
Thanks, Brianna. Any more questions before we wrap up? You can always call us back. Please go ahead.
I have a question here in the chat box. Does an environmental nutrition project fit food and nutrition priority of food and human health? And I'm not sure what is meant by environmental nutrition, but the food and human health priority is for the effects of vitamins, minerals, and other bioactives found in food upon the human gut microbiome. Hope that helps.
We do have one more question. Does the seed grant proposal have the same page limit as standard grants? And that response just came through. Give me 1 second. There is a 7-page limit. And those are all the questions. Oh, one more just came through. Is there a need or interest for enteric virus detection in food production lots in addition to Campylobacter, Salmonella, and STCs?
The answer is yes.
So I believe that was our last question.
I don't know, maybe we should give them a few more seconds. There's a new one.
Does the DSFAS accept seed grant applications?
Ann Stapleton, are you still here? Actually, it looks like Olivia answered it.
The answer is yes.
Question is, my research is related to improve nutrient bioavailability via nanotech to impact on microbiota. Which areas should I apply to? That would be food and human health if you're looking at gut microbiota in the human being. And please contact me if you have further questions.
Any more? Surely you'll have more. And if you come up with more, when you come up with more, you can always review the RFA and the FAQs. And then if that still doesn't answer your question, you can contact the national program leader who's listed as the point of contact for the program, and they'll be delighted to entertain your questions. The first thing they'll say is, did you read the RFA and the FAQ? So be sure to take a look at that before you give us a call. So Mark, Mark Miranda, you're our architect in putting this series together. Should we hold it open any longer, or is it time to say goodbye?
I think if nobody's asking questions, I would say you've done a great job, and we have one more question coming, but I don't think there's any point in holding it open any longer. I think you've done a great job, and questions have pretty much all been answered, and any other questions they can send directly to the program staff as you've recommended.
Very good. So I do see the one question that's sitting there now. It says, are you also recruiting grant reviewers? Thanks. We don't really actively recruit reviewers a whole lot, but if you want to send your CV in, we can forward it to the panel manager who will consider who goes on the panels. We try to let the panel managers really operate the panels. We administer the programs, but we don't really micromanage how the panel reviews are done. And it looks like Olivia answered that. Oh, Hongda answered it. Yep, send your CV. All right. Well, thanks. You've been a great audience. Don't forget to tip your waitresses. Have a great week.